Well, welcome everybody. I will start with my opening remarks. I see so many familiar names and even familiar faces. This is incredibly exciting. I almost feel like I'm at a major poetry event. My name is Nancy White, and I'm the president at the WordWorks, and I will be your poetry shepherd this evening. We are here to celebrate the launch of Meg Kearney's Washington Prize winning All Morning the Crows. Yes. Few quick thank yous before we get going. I'm being so ably assisted and supported through the technical side of this event by Henry Crawford and Karen Alanier, who also serves as our board chair. We have with us this evening, of course, the author, Meg Kearney, flanked by her series editor for the Washington Prize, Andrea Carter Brown, and her friend and fellow poet, Lauren Boslar. I just learned how to say that name, so forgive my slowness. They will all have a part to play in tonight's conversations. And we have a special guest star, a pair of musical guests who comprise the musical group Gravel Road, Chris and Beth Little. And they're going to kick things off here with a couple of tunes that are going to warm up our ears and get us into the appropriate party mood. Are you guys ready, Chris and Beth? All right, take it away.
We're ready. Thank you. We're excited to be here. We'll start with one song called These Old Wheels. It's a cover by a group called Mandolin Orange.
Silence is golden, some may say, some may say. I say silence is a nameless time to kill. It's a restless feeling pounding on my brain both night and day. These old wheels of mine spin louder as it builds. Then the sky would surely fall if my dear drum did fail to beat a single time in time around. Some may make it out all right, and some may have never known. These old wheels of mine spin loud, far too loud. Silence is golden, some may say, some may say. I say silence is nameless time to kill. It's a restless feeling pounding on my brain both night and day. These old wheels of mine spin louder as it builds. I love to hear the chorus of the morning bird choir and the sounds of coffee boiling in the pot. How I love to hear I love you in a dry morning tone. Just assume that if I can't, these wheels would stop. And happy is the day I lay my poor head down, neither trial nor trouble to compete with the chirp of summer crickets, nor tree frogs croak. These old wheels slow down enough so that I may sleep. Silence is golden, some may say, some may say. I say silence is nameless time to kill. It's a restless feeling pounding on my brain both night and day. These old wheels of mine spin louder as it builds.
Thank you. So we're going to do one more before the event starts. And what would a Meg Kearney reading be without a song where she wrote the lyrics herself? So this is a song that Meg wrote the lyrics for her book When You Never Said Goodbye, and Chris put it to music. And we're going to sing it for you. Had that dream again of asters and blackbirds. You like a page torn just outside my door. The wind stirs and the leaves all let go. Rushed out to greet you, your face turned to snow. Wish I could climb inside myself, tumble down to a past I never knew. Maybe I'd reach the day when maybe you said be good, when maybe you said don't cry, when maybe you said I love you, when you never said goodbye. Thought I saw you through a window one April, there by the gold trees, turned out you were me. The wind blows as though a mother ghost. I was still seaborn and you were my coast. Wish I could climb inside myself, tumble down to a past I never knew. Maybe I'd reach the day when maybe you said be good, when maybe you said don't cry, when maybe you said I love you, when you never said goodbye. Once I met the great wizard of heartache. His mask was the sea. I pled for his pity. The wind blurs, then snuffs the starlights out. There are just some things it can't live without. Wish I could climb inside myself, tumble down to a past I never knew. Maybe I'd reach the day when maybe you said be good, when maybe you said don't cry, when maybe you said I love you, when you never said goodbye. Thank you. We'll be back for one more song later on.
Oh, that was great, you guys. Thank you so much. Gravel Road is definitely going places. And if you guys want to hear more of their music later in your life, you can go to Gravel Road Music, Gravel Road Music, all one word, .blogspot.com. I'll get that into the chat in a little while. I want to thank not only musicians, but all of you for being here. If we didn't have an audience, all of our work would kind of become this empty puff. We need listeners, we need witness if we're going to be artists. Your presence here tonight gives the kind of life to the book that every author dreams of. So thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to keep annoyingly posting and reposting a link in the chat area tonight where you can buy the book. Even if you already have one, and I know many of you do, this is obviously the gift of 2021 that everybody's going to want to get. And I don't think there's any better way to save civilization than to keep supporting the arts, keep giving art to each other, remind each other of what really matters. So down with all the evils of the past, up with poetry, And if that's not incentive enough, saving civilization and the souls of all your friends, we're going to include a free Washington Prize winner from another year with every book we sell tonight, along with Meg's book. And then if you buy a book, your name will go into a drawing. And at the end of the night, we're going to draw from a hat one person who will win 10 free Washington Prize winning books. So just imagine the flood of divinity and enrichment that will be coming your way if you just purchase a single book this evening. I'm going to turn this over to Andrea Carter Brown so that she can introduce you to Meg. She's the editor who worked closely with Meg all year on this prize-winning book. Andrea has been with the WordWorks since 2014. She's the author of 3 poetry collections, Domestic Karma, The Disheveled Bed, and Brook and Rainbow. Her manuscript, American Fracture, won the 2018 Rochelle Ratner Memorial Award from Marshhawk Press. And forthcoming this fall from the WordWorks is Andrea's collection of award-winning poems about 9/11 and its aftermath, titled September 12th. It will celebrate the 20th anniversary of that day and help us all, I think, to look back and further digest what it meant, especially for those who lived in New York City at that time, as I know many of you did. So keep your eyes peeled for that. She served for 6 years on the VCCA Fellows Council, the last 3 as chair, and has been a poetry editor for the past 20 years as a founding editor at Barrow Street and then as a managing editor of the Emily Dickinson Journal. She's been series editor here for us at the WordWorks for the Washington Prize since 2017. It's an absolute joy to work with her, and I can't wait to hear her describe Meg's book for all of you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you especially for your comments about the importance of poetry in the world today. Those of us who write it and those of us who edit it and work in it believe that. And Meg's award-winning book is proof of what poetry can give to us and to the world. I want to detour first a little bit, first of all, to welcome you, myself, but I'd also like to welcome the Washington Prize volunteer readers here tonight, all published poets themselves who participated in the selection process for Meg's book. I know some of you are on the Zoom launch, and we couldn't do it without you, without the generous gift of your time. So if you're on the call, raise your hands, and I applaud you all. Thank you so much. Stepping back into my role as poetry editor of the Washington Prize, speaking as a poetry series editor, managing hundreds of submissions through a double-blind reading process every year, I discovered only after the winning manuscript last year had been chosen and the poet's name revealed that the poet is someone I knew in New York City when we both lived there decades ago, a poet who shared the same mentor, the late great poet and teacher, William Matthews, who liked to introduce poets he thought would hit it off. And in this case, we did. Now imagine the additional pleasure of this editor, myself, a serious birder herself, who gets to spend time, almost a year, with Meg Kearney's birds. The great joy of reading poems with a knowledge of birds sufficient to satisfy even the most fastidious birder. And I'm sure there are quite a few of us in this audience. But birds also, which serve as rich metaphors for human experience, not to mention poems that are lyrically gorgeous. As Cleopatra Mathis wrote, Meg Kearney's poems both delight and complicate. At heart, as unknowable and evocative as the birds themselves. Meg will read from her gorgeous new collection. I'm going to hold it up all morning, The Crows. I hope you will support the press and Meg by purchasing copies of her book. In case you are not already familiar with Meg Kearney, I'll be very brief because her list of credits is so long. She's published two previous poetry collections, a chapbook, 3 young adult novels in verse, and a picture book, Trooper, not to mention her founding of a low residence creative writing program. On behalf of the WordWorks and speaking especially for myself, it is a particular joy to introduce Meg Kearney and her gorgeous new poetry collection, All Morning the Crows. Meg?
Thank you so much, Andrea, Nancy, who I think you maybe missed your calling, Nancy. You should be an MC for sure at events. And Henry for being our tech guy tonight, and Karen, and Laurent for being here, and you know, all you people keep holding up the book, which really cracks me up. And Beth and Chris for your fabulous music and song and voices. And my light and sound man and #1 supporter, my husband Gabriel, who I know is also with us. The committee for the Washington Prize. I'm so grateful to all of you for all the hard work that you do in reading all those manuscripts and being so supportive. This is the problem when you start naming people. Now I'm fearing that I'm gonna miss somebody, but I can't. I'm just so amazed by all the faces and the names I'm seeing. And some of you I know intimately, and some of you I only know your names. And I'm just so grateful to all of you for being here tonight. So thank you for taking the time. I'm really thrilled and very moved to see you here. So, and thank you again to Andrea, who's been my almost constant kind of pen pal the last year, right? As we go back and forth, and being so patient with me and really helping me make the poems better as we worked on the book. So I'm really grateful. And all the Solstice MFA peeps out there, thank you for being here. And Andrea mentioned my mentor, the poet William Matthews, and I know there's some fellow Bill students in the crowd tonight, and also people who just knew and loved Bill, including Laurent and I think maybe Howard Levy too. So thanks again. I'm going to read. I thought it was 20 minutes when I kind of took all the individual times and added them together. And then I did like one kind of straight through reading today to time it out again. And it came out to be more like 20, almost 23 minutes. I hope that's okay. So I should just start, right? So I'm going to read 8 poems total. And I'm going to start with Magpie. And this is a sonnet. I think a lot of you know that the poems originally were inspired by a book called 100 Birds and How They Got Their Names by Diana Wells. So in the back, there's extensive notes on attributes for Wells and my other sources. But I learned from Diana Wells that the magpie has a real reputation for being a chatterer. That goes back all the way to the time of Noah's Ark. Magpie. They say I talk too much. That magpie, she's a chatterer, they say. Rather than ride inside the ark with us, she perches on the roof and croons away just to please herself while the whole world drowns. Horrified, I risk the storm to speak. Rain merciless for 30 days now, with no sign of stopping. They act as if they've been sitting in church while I've frolicked like the devil's mistress. Of course, there are some who think women should keep their beaks shut, just look pretty, while mopping everyone's shit off the floor. But tell me this, if they all play it safe, simply wait for an end to the flood, then who else will sing the song of witness? And now I'll go to the first poem in the book, which is Owl. Owl. She birthed you, but she is so unknowable. Is that the word? Try nocturnal. Each night she glides on wings silent as a vole quivering under snow. Perched on your bedroom sill, she watches you dream twitch, then spins her head to spy the snow mound ripple, sugary in moonlight, as the vole tunnels past pines. She lifts off, silent still, and you, daughter of hurt and squeal, are awake. When you sigh, your heart-shaped face aches. Is that the word? Try breaks. Knowing when she dies, you'll inherit all she swallowed whole, yet had to leave behind. I have to thank Tanya Whiten too for really helping me with the ordering of the book as a whole. And then really it was Andrea and Nancy at the end that helped me kind of get the beginning section just right. So here is Loon. Loon. I bought a cassette tape of loon calls so I could speak their language that summer I camped on Russet Pond. This was the 80s, so cassette tapes were the thing. Side A was for "Where are you? I am here," or "I am hungry" calls, meaning hoots, wails, and peeps. Side B was for aggression and distress, yodels and tremolos, the latter a kind of alarm laugh that led to the saying "crazy as a loon." Kids today don't have the chance to choose between side A and B. B, the poor man's intermission, or a sleeper's song, Second Chance. But now I'm talking 45 records, 1972, with Deeper and Deeper on the B-side of Billy Don't Be a Hero, which was more a tremolo than a yodel, a sentimental, romantic, anti-war song that slew my heart in 3rd grade. No one I knew liked Deeper and Deeper. Though on Russet Pond I learned that loons with their solid bones can dive deeper and longer than most birds. And I found I preferred whales to tremolos, whales being the kind of call I'd perfected myself by then. That's for all you musicians in the crowd. I know there's more than just Beth and Chris. I saw Gary Lilly somewhere in here. He was on my page and now he's skipped around, but amazing to see him too. Okay, now I'm going to read Crow. This is the longest poem in the book. It takes about 8.5 minutes to read, so it's kind of a treat to have the kind of time to read a long poem like this. So thank you in advance for being here with me through it. It's in 25 very short sections, so I'll just pause briefly between each one. Crow. It was a crow first taught me how to pry a thing open, snatch a stick to leverage a headstone, or widen the hole in a rotten pine's trunk to get at the story inside. New York, 1999. If our mother had kept you, my newly found sister said, you'd never have gone to college. Wouldn't have done a lot of things you've done. Ornithologists claim crows have an innate sense of fairness. One will scoff at your proffered raisin, for example, if you've given her sister 2 peanuts. If you've given her sister away, that's a fact best kept cached, like the crow's scraps of roadkill and white oak acorns. I wasn't the first apprentice to the crow. First to learn that old term, crowbar, handy for getting at grubs and slugs or warding off a man with a brick for a fist. Flip the bar around to hook a beetle, but not a mother, not a sister. If she had kept me, a rooster crows. Crows caw. Explain that. And while you're at it, how you came to laugh my mother's laugh, my newly found sister said. I said, I never claimed to be anyone's interpreter. She said, our. I meant to say our mother. Rhode Island, 1960. Hear that? Crows are songbirds too, squawk the nuns in their choir loft. See the one with the little silver cross in her beak, jimmying the blue gold window's latch? That's her, my first mother. Our mother told me, my newly found sister said, she went to Catholic boarding school. I said, well, the convent. Our mother did not speak a secret language. She spoke the language of secrets. As any ex-nun would tell you, the world isn't simply black and white. Consider a plum in a crow's beak in sunlight. Consider the nun's habit, sunk to its knees in the confessional's dark. Color of a broken vow, iridescent as a cancer cell. Apprentice, yes, I told my newly found sister. Ravens? You have to work your way up to ravens. Corpses, cemeteries, what many people think when they hear crow, also known as the pallbearer of souls. By the time I found her, my first mother had already been dead 17 years. Why was I surprised? At her grave, I left a silver earring for the crows to find. Does anyone ever see a scarecrow and think, crow? Cornfields, maybe, or, Father, is that you? If you leave us, the nuns in Bristol told my first mother, you will die a terrible death. But she stole a dress blue as a baby crow's eye, plus 500 nickels. Bought a bus ticket to Boston. The dress? A newly arrived novitiate's. Crow's eye blue? Code for so sexy it was in the to be burned bin. How did she go from Boston to New York to Tucson? Why didn't she tell us about you? My newly found sister wants to know. She now thinks I have the knowledge of crows. From the crow's nest of her getaway ship, my first mother could have seen nothing useful. Not the snake charmer with his charming snake, or Prince Charming, or how a daughter can shrink to a name on a dotted line, to one wide brown eye on the horizon before falling off the edge of her world. In Scotland, crows are corbies. Granddad never lost his brogue, my newly found sister said. She said she could still hear him singing about the twa corbies who feast on a dead knight's bonny blue eyes. When still in her sister Gabriella disguise, my first mother taught second grade. All those children, not one of them hers. Snack time milk box cost 5 cents. Added up. Fact. Crows can recognize human faces, even remember them years later. The first time I saw my mother in a photograph, I thought it was some sort of trick mirror. Hello, I said. I know you. You are she, when I last remember her well, my newly found sister said. No place for a ship in Arizona, meaning no daily departures leaving from Boston or New York, where I was harbored. Was that the allure? To be far from the Atlantic, its relentless chant? Though the desert is its own type of sea. She was given a photograph of me to keep. Grief came in waves, like the heat. On overcast days before clocks, Jews began the Sabbath when crows came home to roost. Crows don't need timepieces. Sunsets when all the good stuff starts to happen. Arizona, 1983. This is the story I've been told with a few guesses thrown in. Round and round my first mother's deathbed flew the sisters of Bristol, that murder of crows. I have another daughter, she whispered to her husband, low, so her children wouldn't hear. He promised to find me, thinking this would make her live. Told you so, chanted the crows, settling like a wreath at her feet. How did she get to Tucson? Some say the southern route, a brand new Corvair convertible. I say she flew. Thank you for holding me up through that. And thank you too to Howard Levy, who has, next to my husband Gabriel, has been my first reader and really saw me through this whole book from very early on. So thank you. Thank you, Howard. Okay, this one's for Andrea. This is Limpkin. And the note from 100 Birds and How they got their names said the Limpkin's cry has a quality of unutterable sadness, as though the bird is wailing in despair at the desolation of its watery surroundings. Limpkin. Eliza Summer was hanging socks on the backyard line when she heard it. Clothespins rained on the ground. Lord have mercy, she prayed. Her hound lifted his head to howl, then changed his mind. Diane Johnson and her son Kip were peeling potatoes when they heard it. Out on their porch, Kip still held his knife. Diane touched his arm as if to ask, "Hear that?" Kip claimed it was a bird, but Eliza knew it was that newlywed girl in the old white house, Mary. It was a limpkin, Kip insisted, the swamp. His mother chuckled. What did a boy know about heartbreak? When Jen Kroll heard it, she called her father for the first time in 13 years. Joe Sprague slipped in the tub when he heard it, and Paul Hogue at the diner shook coffee in his eggs. Diane whispered, "That Mary came in the clinic last week, forearms shredded like..." She took Kip's knife, nudged him, "Go shoot baskets." Sissy Freer cut off the tip of one braid with a tree pruner when she heard it. Diane wished she didn't know about Mary. Inside the house, she crossed herself, lit the wrong end of a cigarette. When she called him in, Kip missed his shot. He knew plenty about heartbreak. He'd had a father. Okay. Just a few more. This is for my brother Donnie. This is Bluebird. Bluebird. I carved hollows into bodies of trees, nailed boxes on poles in sun-dazed fields. I appealed to the oldest witch, keeper of charms, to visit me in my dreams, whisper where the bluebird resides. My dead mother, the first, appeared instead. I pretended to sleep. She was happy I'd found her other daughter, her son, but there was no bluebird on her tongue or among the folds of her dress. Soon she disappeared, as is her habit, into the ether. If you ever catch that bird, said my newly discovered brother, it'll change color in its cage. To him, survival is happiness, as good as it gets. Years later, my other dead mother found me standing behind the house in LaGrange, where the bird used to nest. My mother took my hand, and there it was, in my palm, a gleaming sapphire, warm to the touch and throbbing with what felt like desire. This mother couldn't stay, but will come back as she can. And the bird? I've learned its song as well as I know my sweet love's face. There it is now, tossing its notes out of the soggy field like so many blue stones. Okay, 2 more poems. One for Howard Levy. There's, I guess you'd say, a sequence maybe of poems throughout the book that feature a woman in a cabin and her dog. And this is one of those called Chickadee, set in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Chickadee. She's reached a new low in loneliness. Now she thinks the chickadee returns her call. Dozy with noon heat and still wet from their walk to the spring, the dog opens one eye as she steps from the porch, blows a sort of too-hoo toward 3 scrubby pines behind the cabin. In bare feet, she picks her way across the grass, calls again, waits. All winter back home while the dog napped, she waited at the window with the cats, watching chickadees spill a thimbleful of seed from the feeder for each seed they snatched. That silent show making the hollow space inside her echo only louder with the footsteps of her dead. Her father, 2 mothers, lately too many friends. When the chickadee goes silent, she calls H, who knows why each summer she comes to this cabin alone with her dog. H lives in the city. She may as well be in the 19th century up here in Franconia whistling to birds. Just like Wordsworth, she tells H. Remember in the prelude? Screw Wordsworth, says H. The chickadee resumes his namesake call, chickadee-dee-dee. She loves H even when he's cruel. Still, a chill blows through her hollows. H has to go. Listen, there's the bird. She whistles back. So what? She's a fool. And here is the dog, come again to fetch her. He leans, damp fur of his hip cool against her knee. The pines are silent as he turns and she follows back to the shade of the porch. And I'm going to end with the last poem in the book, which is Sparrow. And there's an epigraph from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology that says, "The house sparrow takes frequent dust baths. It throws soil and dust over its body feathers, just as if it were bathing with water." Sparrow. Saint Bede said the soul is a sparrow. It flits in one door, flutters down a hall, disappears out another door. A brownish black, soon forgotten flash. Sparrow. The word itself from the Anglo-Saxon means a flutterer. To flutter is to float. Sparrow on waves. Sparrow on a pond. Or flutter is to contract, to beat irregularly. Sparrow in my heart. Or to tremble with excitement. I could barely contain my sparrow. If water flutters, there's more than a ripple. This morning, a sparrow splashes in the garden dirt like a baby in the tub. A soul, perhaps, celebrating its former body returned as promised to dust. Oh, my very being wants to believe, but my faith, that sparrow, flutters. So when my grave's been dug, when they lower my dust into the ground, may a host of sparrows bathe with me. May we fling that fresh earth skyward, then lift our faces as it rains back down. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I'm just amazed by all of you. Thank you, thank you. And thanks, Jet Whitehead, my main man and proofreader over there. Thank you. I want to say every single one of your names. Thank you. So,
Oh, that was wonderful, Meg. Do you want me to give a little time here for you to comment, or do you want to go into the Q&A with Lauren?
we can go right into talking with Lauren. Yeah.
I don't want to rush you.
I'm so glad you said that, Meg. I can't wait to talk about it.
Hi, Lauren.
What a reading you gave. Let's all, shake our hands and say thank you.
Thank you.
It was such a moving.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
I'll just say a few words to introduce you, Lauren, if you don't mind, because Meg had wanted me to, I believe. Lauren is the author of several books of her own: Hour Between Dog and Wolf, Small Gods of Grief, A New Hunger, and These Many Rooms. They've each won awards, and she's also a poet laureate of Santa Barbara Emerita, the recipient of a Pushcart Prize, and the winner of the 2020 James Dickey Poetry Prize. She's taught at Sarah Lawrence College and University of California, Santa Barbara. And as many of you already know, I'm sure, is a member of the founding faculty of the Solstice Law Residency, Solstice Low Residency. If it was a law residency, that would be quite a different creator, the MFA program. Okay, so over to you, Lauren.
Thank you very, very, very much. And before we talk, I have to tell you, there were moments where I had to remind myself to breathe. So taken was I from this remarkable emotional courage that you show um, in your reading and in the choice of your poems and in the arc of this book. And I want to congratulate you to win the Washington Prize. Come on, this is important. And also really thank WordWorks for their fabulous choice to have her win the prize, and also for this cover. I mean, this cover is to die for, really, really. You touched on the reason why you chose birds to be a metaphor for many things in this book, but could you talk for just a few sentences how this came to be? What was that initial impulse? And I know that the book now is completely different from the first idea that you had. Could you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, probably like a lot of you. And let me just say that I'm so grateful, Laurent, for you being here and being willing to do this with me. Laurent, I mean, I look to her as not only a friend, but a mentor. And her book, The Hour Between Dog and Wolf, really is one of the books that changed my life. When Steve Huff sent it to me from BOA 97, I think that was. And then I met Laurent at the Frost Place up in New Hampshire that same summer, and I sat in the front row of her reading and cried my eyes out. So we've come a long way together since then, and so thank you, Laurent. So as a lot of you who are poets probably love a prompt, at least I love a good prompt. So I gave myself a prompt. In 2012, I started just writing from this collection of 100 Birds and How They Got Their Names by Diana Wells. And I said, all right, I'm just going to write 100 poems, one for each of these birds, and just see what happens. And I did that. I wrote the 100 poems in a year, and then I had to set that manuscript aside in order to write When You Never Said Goodbye, which is the title song that you heard Beth and Chris sing earlier. So when I came back to that sheaf of poems, you know, as hard as that would be for any of us to do, set aside a manuscript of poems for a couple of years, it really did great things for me, and really being able to come to all that material with fresh eyes. And I threw out more than half of them, and most of them needed to be rewritten, but I had all this material to start working with, and it just started to kind of take on a life of its own, and I started seeing like images repeating and talking to each other, and poem, certain threads that were running through all these poems, and I could see how they started all kind of coming together, and that helped me shape things, and know, like, even poems that I had published, that they just didn't fit, in with this collection. So yeah, once I finally like saw the threads, that really was a guiding principle. But honestly, it was Tanya Whiten who sat down and showed me how they all fit together, and ordered much of the book for me, which was such a gift.
Well, thank you, Tanya. Thank you, because I'm a very grateful one that this book exists. We're all writers here, and what I noticed is the incredible deft choice of pronouns that you have, because there's so many characters in the book, and there's you, and then there's the bird who becomes a character, and there's you talking to the bird and bringing in other characters. And your writing is so deft and so clear that we always know who the I is. And sometimes you chose the you, sometimes you chose the she, sometimes you chose the I pronoun. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I was amazed at how clear everything was, although the pronouns changed.
Yeah, even within those, the woman in the cabin with the dog poems, sometimes that's an I and sometimes it's a she. And I mean, usually if I switch to the you, to, the third person, I'm trying to get some emotional distance from what I'm writing. And that's kind of a trick that I play on myself. And often in the book, the I isn't always necessarily, Meg Kearney, but it's a persona kind of I. So there's, even though I'm drawing from experience, there's a lot of things that are, drawn on other people's experience or imagination too. But, a lot of the poems about women and women's experiences, women experiencing violence. Sometimes you really have to kind of put a little distance between yourself and that. And writing in the third person helps you do that.
Well, bravo. And I think it's a lesson. I mean, your poems could be examples for teaching the use of pronouns, really. And as you know, I give a class about pronouns, and
I
I,
do know.
I was amazed at the dexterity that you show. So thank you. Um, this is not a question, but I'd like everybody to show your thumbs or move your hands. Have you noticed that when the emotional intensity accrues, so do the sounds, and so does the music in her poems? And then there's a quietness about sound and noise, and then it comes back again when the emotion comes. I mean, we as craftspeople know what work went into that. And I just want to applaud you. Really, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Because I'm sure you heard it too, right? Um, it's really beautiful. Anyway, one feels when reading the book that the choice of using a specific bird for a specific poem is a welcome entrance to write about a difficult subject matter. Am I right?
Yeah, the birds, on one hand, let me get away from the I. And then on the other hand, the birds also help me, delve into some very difficult personal material at the same time. So they launched me into two different places in that way.
Something else I noticed is that you started your your reading with the poem Magpie that I adore. It's one of my favorite in the book. But you started the book with Owl. So here's my question. When did you know, when did you decide that Owl was going to be the first book, the first poem in the book, and why?
That came very, very late, with Andrea and Nancy helping me. The three of us kind of going round and round about what's gonna kind of provide the on ramp almost for Crow. Because originally I had just two poems before Crow, and we needed a little bit more space before you could get to that poem. Um, and then I don't know if it was my idea in the end or whose it was, but it was it was Howard Levy again who pointed out that the book now begins with Owl and a birth, and then it ends with Sparrow and the baby in the tub. And I didn't even know I did that. You know, I love when people point out to you what you do in your own work, because, you know, so much of it is going on, you know, like somewhere
Consciously.
else in your brain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it does a huge difference, you know, with what poem the book starts,
Yeah,
if the book is read like it should be.
right.
And this is one of those books that needs to be read from page one to the last page. And then from time to time to go to the notes in the back creates a whole different world again. And I was thinking for a little minute there that you are the limpkin. We all heard that limpkin call, that lament, that cry, that desire to be heard, and desire and longing to be sonorous and make noise in our lives as Limkin does. So now I'm going to call you my little Limkin from now on. I just want you to know that. So then there's that other very quiet, very loyal, very discreet, and very constant presence in the book of the dog. And we all know, don't we, that dog spelled backwards is God, another presence between many of your lines. And between all those lines, there's the dog and there's God, and there's the dog and there's God. Could you talk a little bit about the presence of the dog? And that's my last question so that we win time. But before you answer it, may I please hug you and tell you how proud I am and how grateful I am to Andrea, to everybody who helped you with the book. Because it's a book that is necessary. It's one of those books. It's one of those books where you say, "Oh, I know what you need to read. You need to read all morning. I've got the book for you. You know, it's one of those books that you pass on, and then you have to buy it again, and then you pass it on, and then you have to buy it again because the people you loan it to don't want to give it back." But anyway, back to the dog and God. Could you talk about that?
Thank you so much, Laurent. Yeah, briefly, the dog, he does appear. I think he might be in every section, but he appears throughout the book. There's 4 or 5 poems where the dog makes his appearance, and he's really kind of. It's so interesting about the God theory. He is kind of a grounding force, and he kind of saves this woman from herself. You know, just like in Chickadee when he goes out and gets her, you know, and brings her back. That's what he does, you know. Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, at the end of the book, he kind of goes off into cloud, just like, you know, God, I guess, or a spirit. And I lost him, you know, in the writing of this book too, 2018, right after the Solstice Winter Residency. Trooper. But I like to think that he'll live on forever through his picture book and now this. So
Right.
thank you for asking about him.
The three-legged God.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that God is limping.
Right.
He's not always full of balance.
Right. And by the end of the book, he's in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Meg,
Thank you
for
so much.
this book.
Thank you, Laurent. Nancy.
Man, I love to hear poets talk about their work and to have 2 such articulate poets go back and forth. What a gift. Thank you so much. And I can't help but put into the chat Laurent's quote, this is a book you're going to want to share. You know, you might need 10 or 11 copies, you know, over the next decade. So we do actually on our website, if you order 4 or more copies of a book, you get a 40% discount, just like any wholesaler. So, you know, if you do think about it, tremendous deal. All right. Thank you all very much from all of us for all the book orders that have been just pouring in. Nothing makes a poet happier than somebody actually reading what I wrote, and nothing makes a publisher happier than someone actually reading what we created, what we made. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. The author would take a question from the audience. If any of you have a question you would like to ask, I think you have to use the chat area to pop it in there. Because we have the mic situation a little over micromanaged to be able to turn you on for your own voices. So if you do have a question for the author, stick it into the chat and she may be able to come up with something on the spot. We'll keep our eye on that. We're going to have another song from our gang, and our gang of 2. So if they would like to take over, that would give people a chance also to think about whether they have a question they'd like to toss out there for Meg, and Meg can read the questions, and then we'll have a toast. So another thing you could do with your musical interlude is to prepare your glass to raise on high. It might be full of pure spring water. Mine isn't, but something with which to send this book on its way into the rest of 2021 with the greatest of luck and celebration. I see musicians readying themselves there. You guys ready?
Hi, we're ready. So again, thank you, Meg, so much for having us be a part of this really special, awesome event. It's a beautiful book, and we're so excited that it's out in the world and everybody gets to share these poems that we Solstice people got to hear you read sort of little bits of along the way, and they're beautiful. And we're going to play a song called Plow to the End of the Row, which is by a singer named Adrian Young. And it's about, like seeing things through to the end. Chris sometimes likes to put in the argument that it's also a love song. So you all can listen to the lyrics with your poet's ears and decide. All right, here we go.
Wake up in the morning in the moonlight gray. We got dirt to break, we got a note to pay. We're gonna plow to the end of the road. Wake up in the morning and we'll plow to the end of the road. Down to the kitchen with my feet still bare. The children to the table, Papa say a prayer. We're gonna plow to the end of the road. Down to the kitchen and we'll plow to the end of the road. Cornbread for breakfast, won't you boil the grind? We got to cut the furrow before the sun gets high. We're gonna plow to the end of the road. Cornbread for breakfast and we'll plow to the end of the road. The sun just broke out over the trees. I got an aching in my back and a trembling in my knees. If the mule won't pull, then the plow won't go. If the seed don't set, then the crop won't grow. Chickens to the market, 7 miles to town. We gotta make it home before the sun goes down. Big storm coming, I can see it in the sky. I hope it don't hit before the clothes get dry. Dirt in my shoes, dirt in my eyes. I'm working like a dog till the day I die. We got to plow to the end of the road. Rocks in my shoes when I plow to the end of the road. My baby's waiting for me at the end of the day. She likes the Bulba Jack in the sweetest way. We're gonna plow to the end of the road. My baby's waiting for me, so I plow to the end of the road. Wake up in the morning in the moonlight gray. We got dirt to break, we got a note to pay. We're gonna plow to the end of the road. Wake up in the morning and we'll plow to the end of the road. Wake up in the morning and we'll plow to the end of the road.
Thank you. Yay, Meg. Buy Meg's book. Buy a lot of them for all your friends.
Oh, thank you, you guys. I think every poetry reading should have music. It really does something in terms of preparing the ears and the parts of the brain that hear the music of the language. I really felt that tonight. Before we toast the book, I want to do the reading. We have here one of our famous WordWorks poet hats, which you can order on our website. And it is full of names. And just so you know, whoops, one popped out, put that back. So that you know I'm not, trying to pick anyone in particular. We're shuffling. And this person, whoever it is, coming out right here will win 10 Washington Prize winner books from the past decade or so. And it is Timothy Mayo.
All right, Tim Mayo. Woo!
And we already have your address because you just ordered a book. So you'll be getting a big package. Thank you so much, all of you, for your support tonight. It means a great deal to us and to Meg that these books are out in the world, traveling around. I'm planning to leave a few in train stations here and there. And also I have learned that librarians are avid bird watchers for the most part. So I'm going to start leaving them around libraries just to see what happens. I worked and worked to come up with the perfect toast. This is a book that has a lot of loss, a lot of pain in it, but so much love and so much beauty, Meg. And one of the things you did with this book is for all of us who, of course, also have pain and loss in our lives, you remind us tremendously how much love and beauty there is and how much there is to be seen in every tiny, tiny detail, the smallest wren. So thank you again and again for this absolutely beautiful book, which I know I will be enjoying for many years and giving away to everyone I've ever met who ever mentions a bird to me for all the foreseeable future. May 2021 be its best, but not its only year of tremendous power in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy and Andrea. WordWorks.
Meg, let me add my voice. But we're getting an echo. So someone has to silent. Okay. I just want to say that having lived with your poems for a year and loved them, I just learned so much hearing you read them tonight. You brought them to life, and I was occasionally looking at people's faces, and no matter how difficult the material was, people were smiling, and they were smiling because of the craft and the beauty and the wisdom in these poems. So may I congratulate you and We're all here as your gorgeous book has fledged from the nest of the WordWorks and takes flight into the world. Here, here, congratulations.
Thank you, Andrea, and all of you. I just feel all the love in this room, and it means so much to me. I can't tell you. I wish I could express it. I wish I could hug every single one of you. Don't you miss those days when we could all be in the same room, even though I know this group of people could never be probably in the same room? So here's the miracle of Zoom at the same time. But I hug you all from the safe distance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's have a reunion tour next summer, New Hampshire. We'll find a field or something, and we'll get the hugging part done.
All right. Yeah, we'll all gather up at the Frost Place, right, BJ?
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And all you Frosties out there. I know there's a bunch of you. Yeah.
And don't forget that Meg has many more readings coming up. So if you didn't get enough tonight, they're coming up fast. And we have another one from WordWorks on June 7th for Cafe Muse, where she is featured with another poet, Tara Campbell. So there are plenty more readings coming up. Just check her website.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous how many readings I have just the next 10 days, including with Sally Rose and Kindred too on the 10th with the Toadstool. So, yeah. But you guys, you already did your part and you came out. So, thank you.
There
so
will
much.
never be enough people to hear your poems, sweetie. Never.
Thank you, Lauren. And thank you again, all of you, for coming. It's just, it means the world to me. And I deeply appreciate it.